Hi everyone, welcome to Killer Whale podcast. My name is Polina. I have my colleague Jennifer here today with me. As you guys know, on May 10th, at DockerCon was presented GOSH blockchain, Git open source holder, a blockchain that is specially designed as a Git on chain. And we have today Mitja Goroshevsky, co-founder of GOSH, to talk about solutions GOSH is providing for securing the software supply chain and extracting the value of open source projects. As you will see, GOSH is much more than just a Git hosting platform. Also today, guys, we're going to have open chat where you can ask questions related to GOSH. And at the end of the show, we're going to have AMA session where Mitja is going to answer your questions at the end of the episode.
So yes, welcome again, guys. We are very sorry for technical issues at the beginning. Today we're hosting a one-time only special event for members of Everscale community. Today you can stake your Evers and get locked GOSH tokens. It's called EverLock. A maximum total of 8 million Evers can be locked in GOSH blockchain DePools for a period of 1 up to 5 years. I will now guide you through the process so you will see how to do it. Let me share my screen so I will guide you promptly. Okay, so first thing, you need to go to the domain staking.serve. Staking.serve. You will see, as you can see here on the screen, for those of you guys who don't have Evers, there will be two options for you. Install the wallet, the first button. Second is deposit your Evers, buy, exchange, swap, or transfer them. By clicking on these links, it will guide you through the whole process. Also, we do have an open chat where you can write your questions, and we have served support team supporting us today. They will answer your questions in the chat. This is for those of you guys who don't have Evers, okay? These two first blocks. Now, starting the interesting part, we have two GOSH pools, as you can see here, the general GOSH pool and validate GOSH. The difference between these two is that the staking amount in the general pool is starting from 100 Evers, and validate GOSH starts from 100,000 Evers. So if you want to validate GOSH, proceed to validate GOSH pool. Okay, let me show you how to stake your Evers. You just push the button, right? You click stake Evers. Here your amount is going to be, you will see your amount here. You stake Evers. You decide how many months you see. As month grow, the percentage grows as well, from 8% up to 24%. You decide the amount of Evers you want to stake. You push confirm. Guys, it's as easy as it is. So please be mindful that here the minimum amount you can stake is 100 Evers. In the GOSH validate pool, the minimum amount is 100,000 Evers. So again, if any questions, please write them in the chat. Your questions will be answered. Now, let me come back to you guys. Okay, just a second. Here I am again. Right now, guys, we are opening up the Everlock. Right now is officially open and you can start staking your Evers. Again, if any questions, more than welcome to write them in the chat. We will now have Mitja covering up tokenomics of GOSH. That is interesting for you, I understand it. So we have Mitja here with us. By the way, hi Mitja, welcome.
Mitja, welcome.
Hello, thank you.
Most of you guys obviously are familiar with Mitja. So Mitja will now share with us the tokenomics. Mitja, whenever you want, you can start.
Yeah, let me share my screen. And let me make it a little bit bigger. And it starts from this slide. So yeah, the part of the reasons why we couldn't launch GOSH on Everscale blockchain is a very different tokenomics and very different token mechanics. So in brief, I will try to explain the difference, and you'll see that there are quite a lot of them. So the total supply of GOSH tokens, 100 million. 11 millions of these tokens will be sold at a price of $3 at pre-sale to private investors. 11 million will go to IDO at a price of $10. And then there will be a staking boost, which we'll talk about later, of 11 million tokens. And 67 million tokens will go to the ecosystem development and the research and development of the GOSH product itself. Now, GOSH tokens obviously will be listed on GOSH decentralized exchange, which is called GEX, and that is the internal GOSH exchange. We will see that it actually plays a crucial role in the whole construction. So, in order to validate on the GOSH network, you stake your GOSH tokens, right? So, and that is the intro. Yeah, someone need to mute, I think. So you stake them for exactly like you do with Everlock for up to 5 years yearly, and then you have this APY per year. Like starts from 8% and plus 4% every year yearly, and that is the 11 million tokens that we were talking about. Now, the interesting part is that the validator of the GOSH network does not receive per block fees, and they do not receive the transaction fees. So you only leave, like the validator is paid by this APY for the lock. Now, what you can, once you lock your tokens, you can do two things with them. So it doesn't end there. You can take your GOSH tokens and you can use them in one or two things. One thing is that you can vote with them in a GOSH DAO repository through the SMV protocol. And you can see how it works. If you go to gosh.sh and start repository, it will then launch a DAO immediately. And you can vote, for example, for a merge into the main branch. Yeah, and that's how the voting works. Now, alternatively, you can get a liquidity voting on GOSH. So you choose either to validate and then vote, or to validate and then provide liquidity into the GEX. By the way, when you vote, you have the mechanism of the voting tokens is similar to the mechanism in Curve, where the duration of your staking is basically you get the voting tokens in relation to the duration of your staking. So maximum tokens, if you stake 100 tokens, the maximum voting tokens you get is for 5 if it's 5 years locked. If it's and then it goes proportionally down, right? So you get 1/5 of the votes if you stake for 1 year. And of course, to get this 100% vote, you will need to restake the tokens for 5 years all the time. So you get the liquidity. So you have the other part. You can either vote, as we said, or provide liquidity, and you provide liquidity in the GEX exchange, which is built-in exchange inside the protocol, and it's, as you can see, is tightly kind of coupled with the GOSH token itself. Now, maybe another important point, and you see here like a little circle says shell project token pair liquidity, is that you stake these tokens in the liquidity pools, which are shell. Shell is a main token on GOSH, main utility token on GOSH, which is a stablecoin. So you stake it into the stablecoin pair with the project token. And what you get in exchange for this staking is, apart from the project token for providing this liquidity, you get the GEX tokens as well. So basically, when you get the GEX tokens, you get the portion of all the fees in the GEX exchange, and and the project tokens that you provide liquidity for. Again, it has some similarities to Curve, how Curve work, but we take that to the extreme and basically say that if you are a validator, then you stake the token for validation. If you lock them for 5 years, you get full amount of voting tokens. Then you can vote in the DAO or vote for liquidity, and get all then benefit from the liquidity you provided for the whole ecosystem of the repositories that put the tokens on DEX. Oops. Yeah. Correct. That's it. Yeah. So I don't know if you want me, Jenny, to go over the roadmap of the of GOSH a little bit here.
Yeah, would be great.
Because it relates to tokenomics. Because
would be great,
yeah. So okay. The important thing also about this tokenomics is that we have something that one of the reasons we created it this way is that the tokens that you pay for gas, but the gas doesn't go to validators. The gas goes to something which is called free service giver. And the free service giver allows any project to provide the access to their smart contracts for free. This is a revolutionary concept in the blockchain, because you don't have a blockchain where you can, execute smart contract for free. On GOSH, you can do that. Of course, you have some limits to this execution, and I'm not going to explain how they work. But in general, if you follow certain guidelines, you can apply your project, and GOSH is itself, like the Git on chain itself, is one of these projects. That's how we're able to actually provide a lot of GOSH repository services for free, exactly like GitHub is doing today. And the reason for this whole construction is that GOSH needs to compete with GitHub, GitLab, and so on. The developer wants to use GOSH exactly like they use GitHub. In order to do that, we cannot charge for every commit. It doesn't work. I mean, nobody will gonna do that. So instead, with this construction, we can provide free tier of service where this free tier is exactly done exactly in the way like GitHub is doing today. So you can have an unlimited repositories, you can have an unlimited public repositories, unlimited DAOs, pull requests, code reviews, notifications, and so on and so forth. You can have also you can use the Docker extension, you can use the Docker build kit, with all the artifacts that this process creates on GOSH. Now, of course, as GitHub is charging for some services, the GOSH will also charge for some services. And if you do the project like that on GOSH, like another project on GOSH, which also provide free services, then you can also charge for some of that, obviously. So, for example, immutable triggers and actions, and liquidity fund is coming with a charge. There's also some other things that goes like private repos and so on. So you pay money, but you don't need to pay for gas. You can pay just subscription fees. And one last thing it can actually do is you can just collect credit card payments without KYC AML. And this is also very important for traditional projects who just want some monetization for what they're doing, right? They don't care if it's on blockchain or not on blockchain. Of course, they do care because the blockchain provides them with security guarantees and so on. But for their end user, it not necessarily they don't want to kind of say to their burden their customers with knowledge of a blockchain, start paying gas and all these things. Well, using the free area service on GOSH, using basically a restricted shell, the restricted portion of shell tokens, you can just collect payments like you would do, because in that respect, these tokens are untransferable. In this free service area, no shell tokens are transferable. And therefore, they can only be transferred between the utility smart contracts. Therefore, they just unit of account. So it fully compliant. I think with this design, we're doing something that Facebook tried to do and failed. We can actually execute that, and we don't need to ask regulators, because with this design is totally compliant. Well, again, that is a very briefly overview of the tokenomics. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mitja. Okay, so I have even more than couple questions to you related to GOSH, obviously. So the first one is, why only now? Why wasn't it possible to build a Git on chain before? Can you tell us something about this?
Yeah, sure. Well, very simple. There is no blockchain that can handle Git. Today, take Linux repository. There is 80 million objects in Linux repository. You cannot put 80 million objects on any blockchain in a meaningful time or at all. The only blockchain architecture that can do that is Everscale, but also not in the current implementation of the Everscale. Even Everscale cannot do that. Therefore, we had to take the Everscale, because this is the only architecture which in general can support that, and then tweak it so that it can actually do this. Also, I need to say in that regard, the requirement for a validator on GOSH network is pretty high. You need to have 1 terabyte of RAM in your machine, which costs around 600 euros per month, in something like that, in this range right now. So of course, if you think about, okay, but how decentralized is that? Normal people cannot run the validator or something like that. So I can answer that question already, because it's part of this answer.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I know.
Okay.
No, wait. So
Yeah.
they say, okay, I don't know, where is the limit? Of course, if you have $5, you pay $5 per server. More or less everyone can do that, right? If you pay 100, everyone can do that or not? 200? Where is the limit where you can do? What I think, you need to think from the perspective of validator is a business. You invest some money, and it's long been a business. It's a business in any blockchain. It's a business in Bitcoin. You invest some money, and then you get some money in return, right? So first of all, I don't know anyone who is putting now validator or miner under the table like it was 10 years ago. It doesn't happen anymore. And now think about this from the standpoint of, what is the requirement to running a GitHub? If you would run a GitHub today as a cloud provider, what would be the cost for infrastructure? It would be huge. So why it would be any different? Why people expect to be different? So yeah, if you want to be part of that, if you want to support the network, just call your data center, buy a machine of 500, 600 euros. And of course, you will gain money running that, but also you will support this application, which cannot be done different way.
Right, correct. Great. Mitja, the second question is, how does Git on chain work? People are curious.
Yeah, I won't be able to tell it in 3 seconds here.
Well,
but,
you can say the bullet points, how you whatever.
Yeah, first of all, it works exactly from the so let's say from the end user standpoint, it works exactly like Git, like a normal Git cloud, like GitHub. Okay, you take a GOSH remote, configure it with your GitHub client and whatever it is, or Git client, sorry, whatever it is, and then you push and you push, when you push the blockchain. So from the user standpoint, it works exactly the same way. Internally, how it works, that's a way more different, difficult question. Also, I don't think it's a time now to explain all this. We can have a technical call sometimes, but yeah, but for the user, it really is that you just use it as you use GitHub. Nothing changed. And we also have a great web interface, which basically just a GitHub interface. You can go. It's app.gosh.sh, and you just use it like you use github.com. There are of course some features missing, but we will add that. That's not too important.
Okay. So people who are familiar with GitHub, they can easily switch to Gosh.
Yeah.
Okay. So the next question is, why did you decide to create Gosh? But I think you mentioned it briefly in the first question also.
Well, it's very simple. Like Gosh, today Git is not decentralized, right? Because, well, when Linus Torvalds created Git, he thought it will be completely decentralized. Like every developer will have their own like Git server or something, and then you have a Git client. But it really took off once the really easy to use service was provided, like GitHub. So it was very, very easy for people. Okay, you have github.com, you don't need to think about it, running your own server, and you have this great community features around them. The problem with this is that, and it's a great service. GitHub is a great service. The problem with that, it's not decentralized, it belongs to Microsoft. So your code belongs to Microsoft today. That is like,
correct.
Even if you trust Microsoft, I mean, there is a level where you should not trust someone with everything. And for people who code, it's everything. The code is everything, right? So you don't trust Microsoft with your life. I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not censorship resistant. It's prone to attacks, and it's not very secure. It's not very secure because it's centralized. And also, the last thing is that the Git is just one part of the software, like the software world. Because when you do the software, it's not only that you code, you also deliver it somewhere. You want to install it on some computer server, whatever. And that's called software supply chain. It starts from Git, and then it goes to some Docker container, and then it goes to some installation of the software. And also on the Git, like you use not only your own code, you use some other code which comes from someone else. And all of that really is not secure today. There are very limited solutions here and there, like you can sign container, or you can, provide some scanning for third-party repositories and things like that. So there are some people trying to solve these problems, but they're trying to solve it in a very fragmented way, like in a very just pinpointing some solutions to different places. There is no comprehensive solution for all of it. And I think blockchain is just because it has the cryptography built in, it has the signatures built in, it can build this level of community level on top of the objects which you put on the blockchain, as we understand. I mean, as we can see, it works with the smart contracts. Using this, you can secure the whole chain up to the containers and so on. So that's two reasons, really.
Well, obviously, it makes a lot of sense. So why did you decide to start Gosh as a new blockchain instead of launching on Everscale? Which is the difference?
I answered that partly in the first.
Yeah, I know you mentioned.
Yeah, tokenomics is very different, and in order to marry that with Everscale, like Everscale would need to change the whole tokenomics model completely. Like the tokenomics of Gosh has two tokens, shell and Gosh. And while Gosh is like value token, the shell is a stable coin, which is what pays gas. In Everscale, there's only one token ever, which pays gas. And in order to maybe in the future, we will be able to construct a work chain or use Gosh as a work chain. But for that, many design things need to change in Everscale architecture as it is right now. Like it should be allowed to pay gas on the work chain with different token, for example, and so on and so forth. So yeah, so it's just technically not possible today.
Right. Okay. So what are the main differences between GOSH and the traditional Git hosting platform? Like you mentioned security. What else you can add on this?
No, it's really centralization is the central point. Like, what is the difference between the money, like a dollar, and Bitcoin? Well, it's decentralization.
Decentralization. Okay.
You name it.
Which gives the security, right? So decentralization is just a start, and on top of the decentralization,
this is the main thing, right? Okay. So do companies and developers who are using the traditional Git need to adopt a new way of thinking or a new way of working when they use GOSH?
No, they don't. They can use GOSH like they use Git today. Of course, they do need then to think further what they can do with GOSH in terms of security, because right now on GitHub it just doesn't exist. Again, you almost doesn't exist. You almost don't have comprehensive security features to supply your software supply chain. In GOSH, you can have it. You can create all sorts of tools on top of your code, on top of the consensus of your code, and then other tools. So yeah, they will need to adapt to that. But if they don't want to use it for some reason, they can use it just like Git.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
We will get to the security.
Thank you, Mitja. And now we have Andrew from Provendo. He will discuss how GOSH achieves security. Okay, Jenny.
Yes. Hi, Andrew.
Hi.
Thank you
Hi.
for joining. Thank you for joining us today. Andrew is the co-founder of Provenda, and also a part of GOSH, as formal verification is a huge part on GOSH. So Andrew is here with us today to discuss security on GOSH. But the first question we wanted to ask you, Andrew, is what security challenges do Git hosting platforms face today, in your opinion?
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me here. So mostly Mitja answered these questions, but I would like to add something. Yeah, actually, I see two big issues here in centralized platforms. First of all, is that the user having the pulled code from, for example, from any centralized Git-based platform has no any way to verify how the code works actually. So there is no any indication of the correspondence of the code and specification. So you just can pull the code and try at your own risk what's going on. So that's the main points of involving the formal verification. And the second thing I would like to add is the centralization. So if you have centralized platform, you cannot guarantee the availability of all your code to be always. You can be interrupted by internal decisions of platform holders, and there is no way to mitigate that. So your scripts based on the fact of the availability of some repository can suddenly interrupted or crashed because the host blocked the repository, and that's a big issue in the free software world where I hope we are living in. So to mitigate the first issue, I think that there are many things that can be involved. For example, you can have named branch in your repository where you can indicate your vision of how the code inside works. For example, you can name it like stable, unstable testing, and so on. But there is no any formal way to verify that the code inside is definitely stable. That is not any formal way. You can just believe developers that they think like this. You can put the test inside, and you can verify the functionality of the code running the tests. By the test are also the part of developer's vision, and there is no any external assessment of how the code inside works. So yeah, I think
I see.
that. Mm-hmm.
That's very interesting. Yes, and that's strange that it's still working like this. So how GOSH is going to be different? Can you tell us the vision of GOSH security?
Yeah, so I'm going to talk about the vision.
Right.
So we plan to have GOSH formally verified itself. So it's very important thing that we have the core system to be formally verified, where everybody can access the information of how this works and what is the specification. The second thing is that we would like to add the formal indication for every repository of the status of its formal verification. So you can see not just verbose, but just formal indication that the status of this repository is formally verified or not. And you can see inside and have the specification, and you can get the full knowledge of what specification is proposed and how it is verified. So this is about formal verification. So another thing is that GOSH is of course decentralized. So no intervention, no blocks, and your scripts are supposed to work as intended. So and to help user to have the repositories to comply to formal verification, we would like to provide the very strong verification environment, which will highly decrease the cost of the planned verification. So there is no the user will be not alone in this very mathematical space. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, basically, so it can people will be able to divide also costs, right? If I understand correctly.
Yeah. So inside this we put the DAO mechanism. So having DAO, you can divide the costs of formal verification for a code. So everyone needs to use the proper software, and users can divide costs to have the most usable repositories to be formally verified. Yeah.
Great, that's very interesting. Yes, I think that's a huge step forward. To be honest, understanding this process is not the most easy thing, but once you get to it, I think it's amazing. So good luck with that. Thank you, Andrei, for joining us today again.
Thank you.
So, Polina, what do you have next?
All righty, guys. So now we have questions. We have our AMA session with questions that you came up with and haven't been answered already during this translation. So the first question is to Mitja, of course. Please tell us about your revenue model. Will this model be economically sustainable?
Well, yeah, I tried before, and I hope it will be, because I think there's the right balances in this tokenomics. First of all, like GOSH is a value capture token. It's very important for the open source industry that the token of, like, the main token for the repositories will be capturing value. And I think it's capturing, in terms of design, it's supposed to capture value more than a Bitcoin. Well, because Bitcoin has, like, or Ethereum, because like they have an emission which is still ongoing. In GOSH, the emission will just stop completely after 5 years, unless unless the DAO will decide that and vote for that some portion of gas should be directed to validators. This is possible, but still, it's not a new emission. It's just the gas payments, and gas payments are in shell token, so it's a stable coin. It's not GOSH, so it won't affect the GOSH token. So
okay.
And another thing is the pricing, and I saw some in the chat. I think someone asked about the sustainability of the $15, because that we think we need to charge like $15 per month. First of all, I have to say that when we charge $15, we charge on par with, actually we provide more for free, almost more for free than the GitHub. And the $15 apply for people who want to already, it's like advanced security features. Now, who would buy this advanced security features? It's not just the developers, startups or anything like that. Like the startups can use GOSH for free, like with GitHub. These advanced security features, they mostly need for corporations. And corporations, like I think what GitHub or GitLab is charging is, I think, the sweet spot where corporations are ready to pay. And I think there is no problem right now to pay $15 for a developer for one of the most important security tools. You have to remember that on average, the corporations today spend to 30% of their security budget on, of their IT budget on security. It's a huge amount of money. So it's not about paying for GitHub developer for GitHub, despite the fact that even that is not that high, like $15. It's paid for the security, so it can go up from the security budget, which is huge. So I don't think there is a problem with $15 per month.
Mm-hmm. I do see that some questions we do have here. We do have here some questions that were already covered. For example, why should programmers choose GOSH? How will you sell it? Or would you comment?
Would you add something maybe?
A bit more? Yeah.
For selling.
How will you sell it? Yeah. How will you sell it? Why should programmers choose GOSH? How will you sell it?
No, it's a different question. Why should programmers choose GOSH? It's for decentralization and everything that we covered before. Security and decentralization and privacy and so on and so forth. For how and for consensus on top of the code and all of these things. Like for the how we're gonna sell it, that's why we are approaching that from, first of all, from the like security standpoint. So in order to sell it to companies who are either projects who are interested in security or mostly vulnerable projects, we're going to partner with companies like Docker, for example, like Bitrez, what we're doing for space industry. We're going to expand on that because it is like there are a lot of solutions that need the security features which we provide.
Mission critical.
Yeah, exactly. Right? So we're going to work with partners, and if you provide security solution for your IT customers, you can use GOSH yourself, and we don't need to push that too much. Like if we find a partner who need it, they will distribute the software because it's available for everyone. They can make money off it. So why not to do that? You can build a solution for your customer on the smart contracts using GOSH, right? And then you can sell it to your customer. And as I just explained before, you can even sell it for the normal payment of the credit card payment. So you don't even need to, they don't need to buy any cryptocurrency or anything like that. So it's really, I think this is like a unique solution which can be distributed via normal IT distribution channels, which again, never happened before with blockchain solutions, ever. So you can take GOSH as a platform and you can distribute it through the just normal IT distribution channels with partnership. You can build on top of that as an integrator or anything like that, right? So I think this is how we're gonna sell it through. It's not we are going to sell it, you are going to sell it, and then the other customer, like not customer but partners, we think of course is the blockchain community and any decentralized project. And I think for decentralized project, it's a no-brainer because if you are a decentralized project and your code is on the centralized platform, it's an absurd.
Right.
When GOSH will be, like everyone will know GOSH and it will work great and so on and so forth, there will be simply no explanation. You will not explain to your users, like you today, you cannot explain to your users why you have keys of your smart contracts, for example, why your solution is not decentralized on blockchain. Every user will ask you, wait, you hold the key. Why it's not decentralized? Exactly the same thing will happen where they will start asking, where is your code? Why it's not in GOSH?
Right.
Exactly, yeah.
Yes, why it's centralized. Right, very interesting, by the way, yep.
Yeah.
Polina, you want to go with next question?
Next question, how GOSH tokens be used?
How can
I
GOSH
think
token
it's a part
be
of
used?
tokenomics also.
Yeah. I mean, you have a direct use of GOSH token. So GOSH token is a voting token on GOSH repository. So obviously developers of the GOSH itself, they will use it to regulate the network. And if you are a stakeholder, if you bought or invested into GOSH, you're a validator or something, you may want to influence decisions. And you can use your staked GOSH to influence decisions of the DAO repository, right? Go and vote there. And another is that obviously if you stake your tokens, then you can provide liquidity. When you provide liquidity, you support the open source movement. You support basically the whole open source community, because we hope that the open source community, again, because of these decentralized features, maybe that's important also point to mention, like how the open source projects are managed right now. They either manage just by people know each other, basically, right? Because like it's on the GitHub, and the GitHub in GitHub you have a repository owner, a single person who owns the repository. So like why you trust this person? Because this person can do whatever he wants, like he or she, like she can, or they can just disallow you to access to this repository if they don't like you, right? Or they can delete the code, or can install malicious code, whatever they want, right? So it's a kind of some sort of trust level on this, and we see it doesn't work very well, because actually, like the vast majority of the open source repositories are not maintained at all. We have a huge collection of garbage code. Let's face it. Like the open source is great. The open source is amazing. We have a very useful code. We have a code that everyone uses, but this is like 10% of the whole code, even less, I think. And the rest is completely non-used. Someone just did it, and it's been abandoned, and no community was created, and so on and so forth. GOSH gives this level. GOSH gives this level of the building the community without need for trust. So and that may give open source developers easier path to contribute to different repositories, because they know that nobody is in control. Like there is no single party who like or dislike, or if you want to be involved in this repository, you can gain tokens of this repository, and that will be enough. You will be influenced already. It doesn't matter what happens to the person who maintained it, or in the future, and so on and so forth. So that is very important. And another thing is that the large repositories, large open source repositories, projects like Linux, they manage by foundation. Right? Usually, like big repositories, they either managed by some big company, which then makes it centralized, right? Or they are managed by this foundation. But there are like very few foundations, and their capacity is very limited. Believe me, we know. We tried to get into Linux Foundation with the Everscale code. We tried to get even to 3 software foundation. It didn't work out. Like they don't have capacity to manage so many open source projects. They really need to choose very few, and these are already chosen. So, so what if the open source project wants to monetize without the foundation? What are they doing? Today, it's very hard. Like it's a very hard path to monetize. Here, you just launch your token. You launch your token and you list it on GEX. And if people, if the GOSH holders believe that, okay, you have some great project, they can provide liquidity for you, and here you go. You start to basically, like, you have a working cryptocurrency token attached to your open source repository. And by the way, it doesn't matter if the open source repository provides software for a blockchain project or any other software.
Right. Amazing. That's, yeah. Thank you. So, okay, coming back to GOSH token. How can GOSH, do you plan to list tokens on other exchanges? I'm not sure if they mean all the tokens or just GOSH token.
No, I think they mean the GOSH token. Well,
okay, the GOSH token, yeah.
Yeah, it's too early, I think, to talk about this. I mean, we just started, but yeah, I mean, if the project will start growing,
why not?
Inevitably. Well, you could see it with Everscale. Everscale, we said in the beginning that we will never, like, we don't want to approach, and just pay for listing or something like that. And apparently, then some people came to Everscale community and said, well, we want to list the tokens, right? So it was DeFi Alliance, it was Broxo. So it was some parties who said, we're interested into the token being, listed. And they listed it, right? So inevitably, sooner or later, even if you're like a very, I don't know, free software, like open source, completely decentralized token, in the end, the exchanges, their businesses to list tokens.
Right.
So if the project starts to grow, then inevitably it will gonna be listed.
Is GOSH a fork of Everscale?
No, because fork of a blockchain has a very precise meaning. You need to have the same history. Like in Ethereum Classic is a fork of Ethereum because from the particular block, Ethereum Classic started to this fork. Before that block, the history of Ethereum and Ethereum Classic is the same. With fork, like the GOSH wasn't forked from Everscale. GOSH is a fork in a way. It's even not forked in the way of the node software because we didn't fork. Well, at least not for now. Like it's the same node software. It has some other capabilities that were added to this and will be added in the future, but the main code will be shared for. So no, it's not.
Okay. All right. So we have the last question, which is about validators. How will validators be attached? Will they be staking GOSH or Ever tokens? What kind of requirements and rewards will there be for validators?
Yes, that's the whole stream is about.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Finally, let's talk about
hello.
validators.
Yeah, exactly. If you go right now to what Jenny showed you in the beginning,
staking.surf. You guys, by the way, yes, we're continuing staking Evers. You're more than welcome to do it right now. Don't worry, we won't close it at the end of the show, but we will go through the results.
Oh yeah, we didn't actually. It wasn't supposed to be that the show will end and the stake will end. So don't worry about that. Until the 8 million is all filled, then the program will be live. But
the pools are open.
Yeah, so it's the same thing, but this is the only possibility to actually stake and get GOSH for just staking. If this 8 million Evers is the end of the free ride for GOSH, meaning that every other validator, they would need to buy GOSH tokens, to acquire GOSH tokens in order to stake them.
Okay, so we are done with the questions. I don't know, maybe we have some other interesting questions. If we do, I'm gonna ask the director of the show.
Please.
Let us know if we do have some other questions interesting that we can answer. Because right now, what we want to do is to go through the results we achieved so far, guys. We have filled 11% of the pool. Yes, we have remaining 7,116,500 Evers. Again, I would like to repeat what Mitja just said. Only these 8 million Evers will be available to be. You can stake only 8 million ever can be staked. So yes, guys, we do open the pool, so it's still open. It's gonna be open until it's gonna be filled. So guys, you have more time, whatever time you need. And I think we are done pretty much. Let's take a look if we do have any questions still that we want to cover. Let's take a look. Okay. So we don't have other questions. I hope we covered everything. Well, we spoke a lot about GOSH. Obviously, we're going to have another show around the end of June. We will keep you posted. We will have a bigger show with an investor. It's going to be...
Yeah, please, guys, join also.
Yeah, please join. We will be waiting for you as well. So I hope you did enjoy the show. We are sorry again.
Thank you for watching us.
Yes, and thank you, Mitja and Andrew, for being here with us today.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
yes,
you.
And
thanks.
Have a great night,
Have a great
guys.
night.
Bye-bye.